All right, welcome to The Explainer. You know, for as long as anyone can remember, the rules of attraction seemed pretty much set in stone. But right now, those rules aren't just bending, they're completely breaking. So today, we're going to dive into how what women look for in a partner is going through this massive fundamental shift, and what that really means for all of us.
And it all kind of kicks off with this one. Pretty startling number. So a Morgan Stanley report is projecting that by 2030, 45%, that's the percentage of single women between the ages of 25 and 44. I mean, think about that. That's nearly 1 out of every 2 women in that age group. It's a figure we've just never seen before in modern history.
And you know, this isn't just some random fluke happening in one country. We're seeing this trend everywhere, from the US all the way to developing nations. It's not happening by accident. It really signals a deliberate choice. So the big question isn't if it's happening, but why, right? What is actually driving this massive change in how women think about partnership?
Okay, so to really get a grip on the new rules, we first have to understand the old ones. And I'm talking about a playbook that wasn't written in any book, but, written in our DNA over millions of years. A time when attraction was all about one thing: survival.
You see, for our ancestors, attraction wasn't just a feeling, it was a high-stakes genetic bet. And there's this really fascinating theory that explains it perfectly. It's called the immunocompetence handicap hypothesis. I know, it sounds complicated, but here's the gist of it. The hormone testosterone, which creates those classic masculine features, actually puts a tax on the immune system. So for a guy to have, say, a really strong jawline and still be healthy, well, he must have some seriously amazing genes, right? That feature wasn't just for show. It was a genuine, hard-to-fake advertisement for his genetic quality.
And that kind of biological resume had a few key bullet points. First, there's the physical stuff. Women were subconsciously scanning for those signs of good genes. Things like facial symmetry or that classic V-shaped torso. But it was never just about biology. It was also about the ability to provide resources, things like ambition, or even just being a bit older, which hinted at financial security. Those were just as crucial. All of it came together as this reliable signal that a man could protect and provide for his family.
So this basically created this 2-track strategy. For a short-term thing, physical attractiveness was king. It was the quickest shorthand for good genes. But when it came to a long-term, committed partnership, the kind you need to raise a family, the priorities did a complete 180. Suddenly, it was all about resources, stability, and whether he was actually willing to invest. For thousands and thousands of years, that was the playbook. Simple as that.
But here's the thing. That entire biological playbook, it's being thrown out the window. We are smack in the middle of a huge cultural shift that is literally changing the definition of what a partnership even is. So what's the new driving force? Well, it's a huge move away from tradition and towards personal fulfillment. In fact, a really interesting report from Bengal puts a name to it. They call it Atma Shantushti. And what that means is that the ultimate goal in life is no longer just to be a wife or a mother. It's about achieving this deep self-satisfaction, about building your own unique identity on your own terms.
This idea of rejecting the superficial, it's captured so perfectly by the French philosopher Alain Badiou. He has this amazing quote where he says, "There's no warm air in a naked body." Now, what he's getting at is that a relationship based only on physical attraction, the swipe right culture we see everywhere, it's ultimately cold, it's empty, it's missing that genuine human warmth and connection. And it basically turns love into just another product you can shop for.
And all of this leads to a really powerful shift in thinking. Women are moving away from seeing a relationship as a safe contract, a simple deal where you trade security for companionship. Instead, they're looking for a construction. It's this idea that a partnership is an active, creative project, something where 2 people come together to build a brand new, shared view of the world. It's not a deal you sign, it's a world you build.
Okay, so if those old survival-based rules are fading out, what's taking their place? If it's not just about a strong jawline or a big bank account anymore, what are the traits that really, truly matter to women today?
Well, when you look at all the modern sources, a completely new checklist starts to emerge, and it is radically different from the old one. The absolute foundation? Honesty and trust. The glue that holds it together? A sense of humor. What's really valued is confidence, genuine mutual respect, and that feeling that you're both rowing in the same direction, toward the same future. See, this isn't a checklist of assets anymore. It's a checklist of character.
And this idea of confidence, it goes even deeper. I love this phrase. Today, self-respect is the new six-pack. Seriously, studies are showing that a man who has strong personal boundaries, someone who respects himself enough not to let people walk all over him, is seen as incredibly attractive. Why? Because it signals this deep inner stability that's just so much more compelling than how many push-ups he can do.
So when you actually put these two playbooks side by side, the change is just striking. All those old evolutionary must-haves, like physical fitness cues and the ability to gather resources, they're being swapped out for modern essentials, like emotional intelligence and shared values. It's a total pivot away from a partnership built for survival and toward one that's all about mutual growth and a real, authentic connection.
So this brings us full circle, right back to where we started, back to that startling 45% number, and what this whole massive shift really, truly means for the future of partnership.
Now, it is absolutely crucial to understand what this trend is not. The rise of the single empowered woman, this is not a story about giving up on love, it's not about giving up on men or partnership, and it's definitely not some kind of anti-family move. What it is instead is a powerful, conscious rejection of the old rulebook. It's a flat-out refusal to settle for a relationship that feels like an outdated contract from another era. Women are actively choosing to be single rather than get into a partnership that doesn't live up to these new standards of equality, mutual respect, and shared growth. And so that leaves all of us with a final and pretty provocative question. As these new rules really take hold, it forces everyone, men and women, to ask what we truly want from a relationship. If love is no longer a contract you sign for survival, but a creative act, a chance to build a new world with someone, then the question for all of us is, what will we choose to build?